child's developments come in different category, mostly from the beginning of pregnancy to the delivery process and even after delivery process. Hello everyone, welcome back to another segment. Into this episode, let's dive into African lady who got married to a Chinese husband based in China, but presently they're in Tanzania where her son is in China with her Chinese grandparents. You guys find out that, the beginning wasn't that easy, and decision to be taken at the earlier stage, carries a lot of weight. When I say a lot of weight, yes, I mean a lot of weight. Some might be, on the truthful side, while some will be on the false side. But whichever side you want to be, I think we should understand that the fact that, pregnancy itself or childbearing is not a child's play. Where you can find out that our Chinese grandparents had been up and doing ever since Keka has been born into the family. It's a blessing. It was a great joy for additional, to the family. And the grandparents, our Chinese grandparents, welcome him wholeheartedly. For some, they would think the child being born by an African parent or African mom, is to be tagged or not being appreciated. But you found out that a Chinese grandparents and even the community in the Chinese environment appreciates Kai and also welcome the child with love, with happiness, and with joy in their hearts. And you can see that her Chinese grandparents, ever since Kai had been put into birth or come into their family, it has been, from one great dimension to another, from one level of joy to another. For the fact, the fact that the parents weren't around due to the laws and order which must be obeyed. Yes, we should obey the rules and regulation of the land, and if there's any further thing, so we'll just have ourselves, the consequence, to bear the consequence or to face the rule of law. There was emotional breakdown. There was emotional feeling. Yes, the first time the parents, her grandparents' son, were returning back to Tanzania, to Africa, to meet his wife or together with his wife. There was a kind of emotion, a deep emotion, deep feeling, to the extent that our African and lady was crying, and even our Chinese grandparents who felt it so much that they are going to miss their son for some time. The first time of movement might look so breakdown, but as time goes on, you have to build yourself together and think it the other way around and say it's for good. For everything that happens to all human under the planet Earth, there is a purpose, and there is advantage and disadvantage, and there's a reason why things happened in such a manner. They actually did not, program their life for such things to happen. All they want was just a blissful marriage, a blissful wife, and a blissful home. The both family living together in happiness, and even to the extent of our African mama coming down all the way from the Tanzania environment to join them over in the land of the Chinese environment. It was a great moment for the family to be together. It was a kind of reunion. Yes, it's a kind of uniting states here, whereas our Chinese grandparents have to meet their in-law, and also a Chinese grandmama, a Chinese African mama had to meet, our Chinese grandmama. It was just a kind of, the first movement, or should I say the first family togetherness. Well, should we say the program did? No way. Sometimes, when family are just growing and living together in happiness, in joy, there's a kind of, should I say, hatred. Let me tell you in hints, not everyone is usually happy when your family is built in straight, or when your family is filled with happiness, or you people are just living in peace and unity. There are some lukewarm attitudes who just want to arise and then start stating or go report some certain things, and that was the case that happened. How did they find out that certain things as passport has been expired, or or this is how they do whatever, that brought in the legal acknowledgement that they should return to their land. They should face that the rules which the laws which they've given them were. But in everything, in every case, we just want to say Glory be to God. Yes, we thank God for everything because as us now, you found out that our Kai is doing pretty cool and he's growing in health and happiness. And so many persons were wondering, we are concerned, so much concerned about the child development, not being attached to the mom, not being knowing the mom, having that motherly care, motherly attachment, and motherly, should I say pampering. Well, you can see that the pampered him which our Chinese grandmama is giving to Kai is beyond much reasoning. But notwithstanding, we agree that, the mom pampering, should also be inclusive in the child's development. But notwithstanding, since it's not their fault, it's nobody's fault. And at that time where they went to, the Tanzania environment, most times at that time, the child was too small. The child wasn't big enough. The child was still, too young to travel, and other vaccines which need to be completed on the child needs to be carried out. And that was the reason why our Chinese grandmama stood so well. She stood so strong. I was so much surprised. If you're not surprised, I was so much surprised. In fact, I gave her in 90% kudos for her to be able to take care of Kai. She and her husband and her Chinese grandpapa, they stood so well, they stood so strong, they stood behind the child, they stood behind their son. Yes, in strength and in power, in prayer, by strength no man can prevail. We agreed on that, okay? But notwithstanding, they stood so strong, with their confidence, and even with them giving us assurance that they can do it, and they did it. And now see our African ladies son, bouncing in health, bouncing in unity with the environment. If you have once, handled a child, if you have once taken care of a child, you understood what I'm saying. Mostly the early process of a child, mostly the sleepless nights, the caring, the nutritions of the child matters a lot. And most importantly, the cleaning and washing is not something to joke with. And that's our Chinese grandmama took as a top key to provide the child with a good healthy meal, and also to ensure that the environment is intact for the child to stay and play. And also thanks to also our Chinese grandpapa for always, cultivating the vegetable vineyard for us to have fresh and good vegetable. Just as you can see on today's episode, he actually went out to harvest a good vegetable from his garden, and that is contribution. When one is doing one, the other is doing the other, there'll be kind of a smooth movement or smooth success. But when one is doing one and the other is not doing, and maybe leave all the load for our Chinese grandmama after taking care of the child, going to the garden to pick vegetable, and also running elter scatter to take cut leaf and all of that, you found out that the workload will be too much for our Chinese grandmama. That is why we will not forget our Chinese grandpapa in whenever we are talking about the success and also the process of this child development. We will not forget to also thank our Chinese grandpapa for also contributing in his own way in the development of Kai. The activities we carry out at home, we do not know is affecting or our child positively or negatively. In the case of Kai, so many persons will think Kai is smart, is intelligent, is active, and is all kinds of good comments. Yes, that is what we want, and that is what actually is the outcome of leaving your child in the hands of an intelligent, smart woman. Hear me out again. Intelligent, smart woman. And that is the case of a Chinese grandmama. She's intelligent, she's smart, and she knows how to do it in a very good manner. That is why you see Kai is smart, very intelligent and very active. Someone will ask me a question that what if the child is in the land of the African environment? Won't the child be smart? Won't the child be active? Guess what? There are two different environments we're talking about here. And when we talk about intermarriage, this family is so interesting. Yes, there's intermarriage, and for the child to be in the African environment, the child also will learn in his or her own way. But being in the Chinese environment, is also another thing. They actually do not plan for this. They did not plan for this occurrence. It just happened naturally. This is how fate wanted it to be, and this is how it goes. So what should they do? Should they carry the child just one time and start going to the African environment? And mind you, in African environment, there are sometimes, the environment is not so friendly with children, and that sometimes the environment is so friendly with children. During that process, what would you expect of them? If you don't leave your child in a very good hand, or should I say in a very watchful hand, the child will just. So from my own perspective, I think what our Chinese grandparents are doing is more right, and they are good to go. Alright, that is where I'll be wrapping up today's episode, and I hope you're enlightened onto this package. Please do stay tuned and stay blessed, and always remember, lovelies, stay cool for now. Bye for now.